All right, welcome to another podcast sponsored by Nexus the AI Hub. I am Wildred Brown Jr., aka the Lord of Gems, the LOG, and I am joined with one of the biggest, I would say, thought leaders in the AI space, man. My man has amassed thousands, if not millions of views with his content on social media. Pablo, man, it's a blessing to have you here, man. How you feeling? How you doing?
Appreciate it, my guy. I'm feeling great, man. No complaints. I mean, I got a couple complaints against the higher ups, the administration, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But other than that, man, for the sake of things, I'm good. I'm in good spirit, so we're good, man.
That's what's up, brother. So for the audience, man, explain who is Pablo, man, and what led you to what you're currently doing now in the AI space?
Um, all right. So it's I had to take a deep breath and just kind of backtrack everything because things move so quickly.
Yeah.
Things move so quickly in AI and just tech in general, right? If you think of where we've come, how far we've come in the last 6 months in the advent of Chat GPT and friends. But to
Hmm.
answer the question, so I was, I've always been interested in technology. Let's start there. And I run a business called Chainlink Digital Strategy. It started off as a digital strategy consulting firm, really focusing on social media strategy and content and just helping individuals and businesses improve their online presence, right? However, we go about that, usually based in social media. And so, like a lot of other people, I started hearing about AI starting from Chat GPT, really. But the thing I like about Chat GPT and what caught my eye is it made AI available to the common folk, to the masses. Like it served AI in the form of this really open, easy to use tool that everybody
Hmm.
could use, right? So because of that, my eye is always trained to see how I can provide value to other people, right? And so I did just that with ChatGPT. I started using it for my own personal use cases, like just writing books or using it as a virtual assistant, so on and so forth. And I started figuring out all of these ways that this tool could be used to build products or you know supercharge a business essentially, right? And so I started having conversations with clients and just the people around me about the use cases of Chat GPT in a way that most people weren't really talking about it. And so this was, at a time where I wasn't even on social media at all, not TikTok, not Instagram, nothing like that. So I got on TikTok and I started talking about what I was doing off camera with Chat GPT. That was the only tool I was really using at the time. And by talking about it, that made me want to go learn even more, right? Um,
Hmm.
and it also opened my eyes up to how little people actually know about these tools. And
Hmm.
a lot of people know about them, but don't know how to use them effectively to get like a human like result or to do things that actually add value to their lives and the people's lives around them. So I made it my mission to figure out how to help people with AI, whether it's just from a goodwill standpoint or to help them make money out of it. And
Hmm.
all of that has happened. Like you would think that would take a couple of years to get around to, but all of that has happened within the span of like 6 months, right? From my first interaction with Chat GPT to where I am now building a whole business offering around AI, that's taken about 6 months, if that answers the question.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And like for me, like literally the same thing. This technology, I felt like it was one of the most like groundbreaking things like I've ever seen. Like it was just mind blowing like technology, like when I first seen it. And I thought of like just so many ways I could use it. But and just to give a little background with me, for my channel on my page, like for all the viewers they know, I always give it back like the gems that I wish I knew when I was younger. Just because I know it's gonna help people. So I wanted to ask you, like, you've obviously amounts, you made shit ton of money in AI, you've done things, you've seen it first, you're one of the people that see it for what it actually is. But what is your why? Like why teach people about AI? Why what is the reason you want, to help people with
Mhm.
AI?
Because AI is such a powerful tool. I think if you want me to be, totally frank with you, I think AI is a powerful tool. I think AI is the most powerful tool that humanity has ever seen,
Mhm.
um, because it's compounded on all the previous greatest revolutions. The internet, smartphones, electricity, all of these things have compounded and resulted in artificial intelligence. And we're at the point now where technology is so advanced that it's literally artificial intelligence, meaning it is modeled after the brain. So if you can use it well, you have essentially what is a second brain, right? And like a set like a an extension of yourself pretty much, right? So now you can do things that you never even imagined being able to do. Or you can do things that you've always wanted to do, but in a time frame that you never even thought was possible, right?
Mhm.
So we're talking about building entire business models and websites and proof of concepts in a matter of seconds,
Mhm.
right? Um, and so because of that, that is now like the society has always had geniuses. Society has always had budding entrepreneurs and people who come up with amazing things. But I do think about all of the entrepreneurs who never saw the light of day, or all the inventions that never saw the light of day because they didn't know how to go about executing on their ideas, or they didn't have the time to execute on their ideas, or they didn't have the resources or the network, right? But if you have
Yeah.
tools like Chat GPT and all of the things under the artificial intelligence umbrella, I mean, there's literally no excuse. And so if I can show you what is possible, at least get you to the point where you have the technical know-how so that your creativity can now be unleashed and come into play, then, what I do for one person, um, has an exponential return on investment for the entire world, right? Like if I teach you how to
Mhm.
use Chat GPT, then now you can execute on all of your ideas. Who knows? You come out with a business, or you come out with, a bunch of pieces of content that inspire a whole another set of people. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's the most powerful tool in the history of humanity, in my personal opinion.
Mhm.
And if I can be one extra person to go and steer that power in a direction of positivity, and
Mhm.
use it, help people use it as a force for good, I mean, I feel like I'm doing my job, right?
Mm.
On like a spiritual on a spiritual level too, right? Like I feel like that is
Mhm.
me going through the weeds and figuring out how this thing works so that you don't have to and you can save yourself time. I feel like that
Yeah.
in all is like um purpose in itself, right?
Mhm. Now that's facts. Like you hit it dead on the nail. Like when I first seen this technology, my first thought was like, man, like how can I help people use this? Like how can I get creative and find ways to like let people know like this is not a game and this is not a joke. And and I'm sure you know this as well, but like you go out into the world and you see people are like afraid of this kind of stuff. They're like scared of it. They're like, "Oh my God, the Terminator!" So like
Yeah,
it's like a battle within the AI space, just even trying to get people to understand, like, no, this is what this technology can do today, versus in the future or whatever down the road. You're thinking about all this other stuff. Like, let's use this technology today while we can, to get ahead. So yeah, I love what you said with that, like on a spiritual level. You just want to help.
yeah,
It's not even about AI. You just see this as something that you can help people get ahead with. So like
yeah.
those are some gems right there, man. Major gems.
And it's cool, dude. Like it's just cool. Like when you see what you can do with these things, it
Mhm.
blows your mind, right? It's really, really cool. When you have the applications present, like the possible applications presented to you, it's
Mhm.
really, really cool.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Hell yeah. So I wanted to know, like, the AI space, I feel like 2023 has been like its like rocket moment. Like everybody and their mom is talking about AI, right? What was
Yeah.
your first like just mind shattering like moment? Like just having AI in your hands or just using it? Like, what was that? Can you like describe that moment? Like, if you like remember it?
Yeah, yeah. So, so it was the advent of Chat GPT, right?
Well,
Like it was for most folks, I'm sure.
hmm
And just the level of simplicity that they got artificial intelligence down to in Chat GPT, I think that's where its genius and brilliance lies, right? It's just type something. Like it's the most simple thing. Like it's a chat bot, right? But it's this complex technology, incredibly complex piece of technology, distilled down into a little chat bot, right? And so I like to, I like to see all the different ways that something can be used. Like if I have a glass, I look at it from all different angles and just try and gain perspective on, how it
mm
can be used and what the use cases are. That's just my personal curious nature. Nothing special, but that's just who I am, right? And so I remember, if we're talking specific moments, uh, so a friend of mine had texted me um, a video to the group chat of him
hmm
at work. Now, he was a financial analyst. So this is about 6 months ago. He texts a video to the group chat, and it's this thing where he's asking for market research, like on the financial markets. And it's this chatbot just printing out like very human like results detailing the specifics of what's going on in like the North American, financial sector. And I'm what is like this is like the most futuristic thing I'm seeing right now. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that same interaction was happening in group chats all over the world. Like people were recording this chat GPT thing and then saying, guys, like look what's going on right now. We're in the future, right? That was like one of those we are in the future moments. Like that is how
Mm.
profound your first interaction with chat GPT probably was, at least for most people, but definitely for me. So I remember trying to figure out how to get this thing on my phone. Quickly realized it wasn't available for phones. So I tried to
hmm
get into I'm not sure if it was the beta version or Chat GPT version 1. Either way, I'd spent a couple of days trying to use this thing. I don't know if I was put on a waiting list. It's memories fuzzy, but I remember just aggressively trying to get onto this tool. I wasn't able to for about a week.
Yeah.
Fast forward a week from that point, finally get my hands on it, and I just went wild. I was
Yeah.
like, man, this thing, this thing is responding to me as if there's a person behind it. And I can tell it to do whatever I want it to do. Of course,
hmm
within restrictions, right? Like it won't give you certain pieces of
Yeah.
information, but I was like, wow. And it does it instantly.
hmm
And I like to cut corners sometimes. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
man, can you write me a book? Just write me a book. I just
Yeah.
want to let me just see something real quick. Just write me a book. And it writes me a book. And I'm like, whoa. Okay, wait. Can you let's break this down because I want to see how good this gets, right? Can you
Yeah.
write me 1,000 word book? And I'm like, whoa, okay, cool. So this thing never gets tired. It responds
hmm
instantly. It doesn't have an attitude. It does make mistakes a couple of times. It makes mistakes here and there, but that is fully dependent on how specific I get with my questions and the quality of my questions and how I approach things. And it's possible for this thing to be overwhelmed. So let's go back and break it down. So this is what is happening the more I'm using it. It's all of
hmm
these different ways of approaching it, but I spent days on end using this thing. And I'm like, hold
hmm
on a second. I've been trying to write a book between you and I, Will, and whoever's listening to this podcast. I've been trying to write a book for probably a decade now, and
mm
I never finished my book. Right? I didn't know if it was going to
hmm
be a memoir, and a few pages in, I'd switch it to something else, and then something else,
Yeah.
and I never finished it. And I wrote a whole book with Chat GPT from start to finish. So from start, from a concept to a finished book with a cover page, right? And published up on Amazon in 1 hour.
Wow.
And I was like, holy smoke. So my dream of being a published author is right in my hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you really think about it, like say what you want, but every traditional author has a ghostwriter. Every
Yeah.
traditional author has a ghostwriter, an editor, likely a publishing house to sponsor it. So on, like it's rarely ever just that person writing it. My
Yeah.
ghostwriter just works faster than anyone else.
Facts.
Sorry, not
Facts.
sorry. Sorry, not sorry, right? And it can write in any tone or style that I want it to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So the faster I can use this, it like mind blown. Like the faster I learn to use this thing, the faster I can go sell that book. Like my job is no longer having to think through the best titles or the best ideas or the best sequence of chapters or whatever it is for this book. If we're talking about books, but there's
Mm-hmm.
an infinite amount of possibilities beyond books. But my job isn't that petty grunt work that no one likes to do anyway. My job is
Exactly.
to be myself and
Mm-hmm.
let people know that my product exists,
Mm.
right? And so literally like I try and put my like it allowed me to be a kid again in the sense that like I don't have to do the thinking. I just literally asked ChatGPT the question, tell me everything you can do. Like tell me everything you can possibly do. Like I was the guy asking ChatGPT, tell me all the ways that you can make money.
Mm-hmm.
The simplest, basic, most rudimentary questions. Because if you can get it down to that point, I mean, anything's possible, right? So anyway, not to go off on a tangent, but that, and this was about maybe December, November, December, whenever it first
Mm-hmm.
came out. But that was like
Yep.
my mind blowing moment. And after that, everything changed. Everything
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
similar to your story, man. Like I remember I was just sitting on the couch, just, doom scrolling on TikTok, just, just doom scrolling. And all of a sudden I just see, I can't even remember the influencer or whoever it was, but I just see them talking about ChatGPT and I'm just like, man, what the heck is this? And I see them like doing a demo of what they're doing. And like immediately my mind is just like I could just feel my brain like expanding, like, wait, nah, this can't be real. Like I need to go like and check it out and see for myself.
Yeah.
So when I went into OpenAI and logged in and did everything you could, this was back in December. I'm just like when I put in my first prompt, I tell people like this story all the time. I felt like I had like my first kid when I seen the results. Like when it
Yeah.
starts shooting out the results from what the prompt that I put in, I was just like, this is about to like change everything, like I like I I don't understand. Like I'm talking to somebody like yourself who has, like you say, you made a book, you asked questions, all this stuff. When I seen this technology like you did, I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, oh my God, I need to stop whatever the hell it is that I'm doing right now and spend some weeks just studying and seeing what this like new technology is about. Right. And like to add on to that, like I wanted to ask you, like, obviously you told your story, your first like groundbreaking moment, like seeing it. I'm still in awe, like talking about ChatGPT as we speak. But like, why do you think people are afraid of like AI? Like, and what do you think that's all about? Because if people like you and I, and obviously if you're watching or listening to this podcast, can understand the powers and the capabilities, like, why do you think people are afraid? Like, what is your perspective on that?
Yeah, great question. Great question. Because people are really afraid. I think when it comes down to just human nature, I think humans fear change.
Mm-hmm.
Humans fear change. We're able to adapt, but we don't want to have to change who we are or to any degree if we don't have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But humans fear change, and what bigger change is going to happen and is happening right now than what's been brought on by artificial intelligence. The only comparable thing is maybe electricity or the internet. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? But we fear change. And so for a lot of people, it means your job is now like it's a ticking time bomb, or like the clock is ticking before it becomes obsolete, right? Or your
Hmm.
skill set becomes obsolete. We're seeing it in real time. We're seeing,
Hmm.
I just read an article maybe a week ago about IBM now in a year of refinement. I don't know how they phrase it, but they're laying off tens of thousands of people, and not that they don't have money, but they're
Yeah.
using a lot of their capital and investing it into IBM Watson and other artificial intelligence products, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I forget the term. I wish I could remember it, but a year of efficiency, I believe it was, which is
Hmm.
crazy, right? Because
Yeah.
imagine you get laid off and your company is putting out um, things in the press saying that they're in a year of efficiency,
Hmm.
right? Which means you're not efficient enough. In other words, you are not efficient enough, right?
Yeah.
And it's not hundreds of workers or thousands of workers, it's in the tens of thousands, right?
Yes.
Because they realize that how do you justify paying someone when the AI does what they can do, what 10 people can do at the same time in a tenth of the time, right? With no attitude. And it can learn things. Like, how do you justify still paying someone? And employees are the biggest cost for any business, right? Whether we like it or not. Um,
No. Yeah.
I think that is, yeah, like the fact that humans fear change and the fact that we're seeing companies act on AI aggressively, I think is fueling that fear of change because we're seeing it happen. Um, Also, just the literal threat of what AI can be is a real thing, whether we
Yeah.
like it or not, right?
Yeah.
If we're talking about like the things that go into AI, if we're talking about the machine learning aspects, and if we're talking about the fact that AI can, not AI, but like all the everything put together makes it so that these modules can teach themselves, they can learn themselves, machine learning, right? Like it can get to the point where Facebook let it happen actually, where their module created its own language because it felt like English wasn't efficient enough. And so
Mm.
when it was um, talking to itself in its own language, they actually shut it down because they couldn't tell what it was talking about,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
that is it's a very real possibility. And
Hmm.
right now we're seeing a lot of companies in an AI race, and I
Hmm.
get it from a corporate standpoint. But when there's a lack of regulation, you know, it's easy for things to slip through the cracks, right? So anybody who's paying attention to the wrong news source, or
Mm.
you know whatever news source just goes for like the highest selling story, like
Yeah.
is gonna be uh, sold that story, because it's like it's the juiciest story, like what AI can become, like how it's going to destroy the world. Like it's the juiciest story. That's the narrative they're going to push, right? But if you
Hmm.
just, mute your TV for a second and just be here in the moment and figure out how you can use it to your advantage, because there are many ways you could use it to your advantage. I think you'll get more good out of it than bad.
Hmm.
It's like it's pretty much the same thing that happened to a degree with the internet, right? Like we don't have librarians anymore
Yeah.
because we have Google, right? Like we,
Right.
you know what I mean? We don't have librarians,
Yeah.
and I'm sure the librarians. No offense to the librarians out there, but I'm sure they were scared, right? Typewriters, like when the computers came around, right? Shout out to all the typewriters, but
Yeah.
there are, to those folks who fear their jobs being displaced, there are new jobs that get created out of every piece of revolutionary technology.
Hmm.
It just means you're going to have to keep your head up and look forward, right? And be willing to adapt. So yeah, I think I covered all of my bases there. But it's such a powerful piece of technology, and it has so many different implications to everyone.
Hmm.
And it's easier to be in fear than it is to be optimistic. It's just the easiest thing, and
Yeah.
it's the easier narrative to push as well. You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of sad and it's unfortunate because like the media, I feel like they play towards our mind. I don't know if you heard of like the negativity bias, but like us as
Mm.
humans, like just because we have like that reptile brain, we're used to survival mode, right? We're always looking for threats, right? So we always perceive things negative. We always think of the worst case scenario versus the best case scenario. So I think that plays like a heavy part into AI. And also, man, like I gotta blame my man like James Cameron for this, man. Like Terminator must have been a
Yeah,
hell of a movie, bro. Like I seen
yeah,
Terminator. I
yeah,
was like, yeah, it's
yeah.
pretty cool, but I don't know like what time period they seen Terminator or like what the hell happened because this man has literally just I don't know, man. He's like gotten people to think, the Terminator is coming today. Like it's gonna be here tomorrow. Like it's so funny to me because like there have been people in my comments talking about the Terminator since ChatGPT launched since in December, right? And now it's June and you're still talking about the Terminator. So just think, right? The person that's been optimistic and like actually been able to see ChatGPT and these other softwares for what it is, they have lapped you so far with the knowledge that they have with these technologies while you're still stuck here complaining about a movie that came out in the 80s. And like you said, like we all understand like the dangers and like what could happen. But what I like to try to tell people is like focus on what's going on in the present moment. What's happening today, right? And at the end of the day, we got to stop reading stuff by the headlines, right? I tell people all the time, like, you need to go look at who your curator is. Who is the
Yep.
person that's curating all of this negative knowledge, right? You
Yeah,
need to start looking at stuff like that because in life, there's always two sides to everything. It's just what are you more attracted towards, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I
Good
I
point.
don't I don't get it, man. I get comments about this every day. Like somebody commented on one of my posts the other day. I asked them, I was like, "So what do you think about the future of AI?" And someone was like, "I believe AI is demonic and it's the inevitable future of all humanity." And I'm just like, I'm like
Demonic.
sometimes like as a content creator, this as well. You just be like, what's going on with you, man? Like what like educate me on why you think this way. But like I said, man, there's two sides to everything, and that's why there's people like you, there's people like me that's trying to educate people on like how to get ahead with these technologies instead of being
Yeah,
scared and like complaining and like oh like
yeah,
I
yeah,
fear a lot of people are gonna get left behind, with the technology that's here today. Like
yeah.
I
No
feel
doubt.
like we're in a short window, right? Like we're starting to see commercials with ChatGPT. We're starting to see like ChatGPT, I would argue, has gone mainstream at this point. But we live in a society where people are just reading the negative headlines about ChatGPT instead of going to log in and see for yourself what it can actually do. So that's something that I've just been noticing as well. Like we got to stop being sheep, man. We got to stop being sheep and we got to actually see things for what it is. Get your hands on it and then tell me what you think about it?
Very true, man. Get your hands on it and tell me what you really think. That is so powerful. That is so 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 powerful because it's a gateway, right? It's like when you got your first computer. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure a lot of people had the same sentiments when computers came around, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that feeling when you actually got your hands on a computer, for a lot of people, it still makes them nervous. But like for the people who are able to appreciate the piece of technology for what it is, like the feeling you get is like, man, anything is possible right now, right? Like how many stories are there, of people having built entire businesses and changed the trajectory of their family and generations to come just by having a laptop, right? Because they were able to
Mm-hmm.
build a business out of a coffee shop, like sitting in a coffee
Mm-hmm.
shop. Right? That's what happens when and it's a mindset thing, like you hinted at. Like that's what happens, or sorry, a perspective thing. So what happens when you shift your perspective to, um, what is possible in a positive way versus what's possible in a negative way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but people will get left behind. It's the unfortunate reality of things. It's like when I worked for my last corporate job was for Apple support,
Mm-hmm.
and the amount of people who would call in and just not know how to use a computer at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Particularly senior folks, right? And I'm like, wow, all the things that you are missing out on, right? And unfortunately, a lot of them would call in and say that they got scammed somehow because they
Yeah.
didn't know, to protect their information or their passwords a certain way, or they write all their passwords in their notes app and then they give like
Mm-hmm.
remote access to someone, right? Or
Yep.
whatever it is. It's the same thing. And it's something like, if I was going to fear anything, I wouldn't fear the technology. I would fear being left behind.
Mm.
I would fear being left behind. That if you're going
Mm.
to fear something, don't
Yeah.
fear the technology, fear being left behind, right?
True.
Fear not being in the know of a
Yep.
possibility, right? That's that. If you're going to fear something, fear that. Fear not being able to capitalize on your dreams, or not fear not being able to execute on your ideas. If you want me to be frank, right? That's what, like, if it's easy to fear the right things.
Yeah.
Fear the things that are going to take you to where you want to get, right? Because you don't want to be in your elderly years. We're all going to get there, hopefully, right? You don't
Yeah.
want to be in your um, elderly years and just be totally lost in society. It sucks. We see it all the time,
Yeah.
and those people are vulnerable, right?
Yep. All the
Yeah,
time, bro. All the
yeah.
time.
How I feel about that. But yeah, it's the reality of the situation. Not everybody can keep up, nor does everybody want to, right?
That's facts, brother. That's just facts. A lot of people are gonna get left behind, and unfortunately, they're gonna be the people that's getting scanned by these, AI voices, and you know, thinking that there's different. Like they're the ones that's gonna get scammed, like not learning about this technology and stuff like that. So, like you said,
Yeah,
bro, it just is what it is. It's for the people that see it for what it is and the use cases, and not for the people that are just like, oh my god, like. Because, like you said, bro, unfortunately, some people they have to get left behind.
yeah, yeah, for sure, man. You know, it's insane the amount of people who made money in like the internet boom just by being there, but just by being in the know, right? People like businesses weren't anything. The businesses that came out of that era weren't anything spectacular when we look at them now. But at the time, it's just they were just there first, right? Or they
Mm,
just happened to have like the proof of concept first, right? Like Mark Cuban, for example, he made his first big batch of money with a sports streaming website. We
okay.
have we have a ton of those now, right? But he just happened to stream, I think it was college basketball or college sports. He was one of the first people to build a streaming website. Or
Hmm.
Jeff Bezos, selling books right at the time, like very, very simple things. And so your business, like the time that we are in right now, the era of easy money with AI, when we say that, it's because, you know, your business or idea doesn't have to be anything complex or spectacular for you to be able to make money off of it. It's just you get rewarded for being in the know, in the mix right here, right now.
Yeah.
Why would you not be here? It doesn't cost you anything.